Okay, so now is live.
Good morning and welcome to everyone. We will start in a few seconds. We're waiting for the participants to join the room and then we will start. Good morning to everyone and welcome to this event. We are very, very honored to have you here today to discuss with you how the COVID-19 is having an impact on women entrepreneurs and what can we done to help them and support them in the recovery process. So I would like to give you some technical instructions before we actually start with our speakers. The first one is that you have a chat and a question and answer box. Normally, there is a difference in the sense that we kindly ask you to use the chat if you have technical problems, because the person managing the meeting will be able to immediately see what's happening and try to help you, while you can use the question and answer session in order to ask questions to the panelists. We will try to look at the questions and we will try to use them during the event, but in case time runs short, we will in any case collect the questions, go back to our speakers, and then collect the answer and share them to you. So please be so kind when you ask a question, if it's not a very specific questions, to indicate to whom you are directing these questions, so that then we can send it to the appropriate speaker. I will switch for a second to Italian to give some more instructions to the Italian participants. Buongiorno a tutti. Come vedete c'è un bottone in basso con scritto Interpretation. Se voi utilizzate quel bottone avrete accesso automatico al canale per sentire la traduzione dall'inglese all'italiano. Quindi vi invito a usarlo se ne abbiate bisogno. Okay, I think I'm done, and I would like to give the floor to the first speaker, Marta Schulz, the chair of the Women Network. We are very happy to have you here and to open this event.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody. Honorable members of the European Parliament, dear representatives of the European Commission, the European Investment Bank, the Economic and Social Committee, dear colleagues, dear participants from all over Europe, dear members of the Eurochamber Women Network. It is with pleasure that I welcome you today here at our Eurochambers Women Network event. It is good to meet again, be it virtually. Time flies. We have been living with Corona already for 1 year. Today, we want to take stock of the challenges women entrepreneurs have been facing due to the pandemic. Times are difficult for us and our members. There are many questions from women entrepreneurs about the COVID-19 crisis. Corona surely is a fact that we must continue to deal with. It will certainly influence our work for the coming years. Everything has changed for me too in the last year. The crisis had hit tourism extremely hard, and this is my core business. Easy traveling is essential for all tourism businesses in Europe, so there is still a long way to go. Women entrepreneurs have been strongly impacted by the current crisis. Many among them manage SMEs, and we all know that SMEs are paying a big price for this pandemic. Also, with the lockdown extended in many countries, the working environment has forced people to work from home. This surely is an additional stress factor for many women entrepreneurs who now have to find a new work-life balance. Therefore, now more than ever, do we need to find creative solutions in order to ensure that their businesses can prosper. To assess the situation and suggest to the competent authorities what measures women entrepreneurs need to recover from the current crisis. We, as Eurochamber Women Network, launched a survey to analyze in detail how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted women entrepreneurs all across Europe. The results of the study will complement our recent General Women Entrepreneurs study and will surely have an impact on our priorities for the coming year. Today is the day we want to share the results with you. I'm happy that many women entrepreneurs took part in this survey, so we have a clear picture of the situation and make sure we understand the real needs of women entrepreneurs in these difficult times. The Eurochamber Women Network will call on the European Commission to work with the Chamber Network to develop tools and guidance and access to finance, to facilitate exchanges on work-life balance approaches in different countries, and to invest in extensive cross-border training and mentoring schemes for current and future female entrepreneurs. We are looking forward to working with you. I'm honored to represent the Eurochamber Women Network, which did such a good job in organizing this event. A special thank to Giulia Rocchi, who is the coordinator of the AVN at Eurochambers. She will present the results of the survey to us afterwards. But before we get started, let me briefly mention the most important event we have planned for 2021. We need more events like the one today. To unite our efforts for a more inclusive business environment, but also to celebrate the unique capacity of women to take on board new challenges and adapt to ever-changing circumstances. In April, I am happy to invite all women entrepreneurs interested to the Austrian Women Entrepreneurs Congress, which will take place online on the 22nd of April. The motto of the upcoming Congress is the power of change. High-level experts will explore solutions and discuss opportunities arising from constantly changing demands. Exciting keynotes will provide convenient tools, hints and tips to support women entrepreneurs and women in the economy. English translation will be provided. I'm looking forward to welcoming many of you there. We will send out the details soon, but please already mark April 22 in our agenda. In June, I hope we can gather physically for an EVN meeting in Brussels to promote the network, gain visibility, and catch up again. And finally, I wish to see our women entrepreneurs at a physical meeting in October this year at the fringes of the European Parliament of Enterprises. At the beginning of February, Julia sent you the work program for 21. Should you have not received it, Julia will be happy to share it with you together with the invitation to the Congress in April. I would now like to hand over to Julia for the presentation of the survey. I'm really looking forward to the results of our survey and to our discussion. Women are a wonderful example of resilience and dedications, and we can learn a lot from them, especially in this special period. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schulz. It was a very nice introduction to this event. I remind everyone, thanks to your words, that yes, we have this women network at Eurochambres, and we are more than happy to welcome whomever wants to come on board. I will immediately start with the presentation because I don't want to run out of time. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I briefly start giving you some background information. As you can see, we got 536 answers coming from 20 countries and embracing 21 sectors. Of course, the pertainance to a certain sector changes a lot because, as we well know, this represents what happens among women entrepreneurs. So we are stronger, our presence as women is stronger in certain sectors and a little bit more rare in other sectors. I have decided here to indicate also to make a distinction between the years where this company was founded, because we actually thought that could have come interesting during the analysis. And indeed, it led to very interesting discoveries, but I will come to that later on during the presentation. First thing that we asked was to understand if the entrepreneurs replying to the survey was already present online before the pandemic, in order to try to assess if the pandemic has actually triggered a change in this regard. As you can see, we have a majority of entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, responding to our survey who declared already being online before the pandemic. It's not a clear majority, as you could expect, so we are talking about 55%, but actually the very good news is that if we consider the official data, it's a huge majority, because according to Eurostat and the research they did in 2018, around Europe only 20% of companies are present online. So the fact that in this case we have 55% of participants already online is a very good sign. We also wanted to understand if among those who were not online, some had to start because of the pandemic. We see that more or less half of the participants needed to adapt and to start activities online exactly because of the pandemic. Work-life balance. This is something that we all know it's very important when it comes to women on the job market, and in our case, especially for women entrepreneurs. This is already a very peculiar and very difficult situation without counting the pandemic in, but with the pandemic, the question that we ask ourselves was that if certain measures, for example, the home working rules that were more or less in different degrees applied everywhere around Europe, had an impact on the work-life balance of the women entrepreneurs. And actually, it looks like that was the case. So nearly half of the participants had to face additional care household duties, and these had a negative impact on the managing of their businesses. What is very, very interesting, though, is the 18% that you can see. So for a part of our respondents, lockdown and the home working measures actually was, let's say, a helpful resource, because they allow them to better manage their time and split themselves between work and private life duties. We wanted to ask these, and we expected some similar results, because we strongly believe that given certain conditions that have yet to be established for sure, certain working conditions like home working, for example, could actually have a positive impact on certain women entrepreneurs. They could actually help them split themselves better between private and working tasks. We wanted to investigate a little bit further, also trying to understand if in general the pandemic had an impact on the work-life balance. And actually, as you can see, the majority of the respondents found these to have a very negative, or in any case, a strongly negative effect on their work-life balance. This is something that we always have to remember, and something that is very important for women entrepreneurs. It's a point to which I will come back at the end of my presentation. Managing tasks. As you can see, now we start with a set of questions when we wanted to analyze the impact on different tasks, on different activities of the women entrepreneurs responding to our survey. The first one is actually what kind of impact the pandemic has had and is having on the managing of tasks. With this, I mean all the daily activities, from opening a physical shop to receiving clients in your office, to dispatching order, for example. And as we can imagine, for the majority of them, there has been an important impact. I would like to give you some more information about it. We also have an analysis for sector, and what we saw is that only 3 sectors were not impacted at all concerning their daily activities. But these, I have to say, are sectors very specific, like fisheries and shipping, or utilities, so gas, water, or electricity. These sectors actually very difficult. We can imagine them having, for example, a physical shop. So we can understand why these were not so touched by on their daily tasks by the pandemic. On the contrary, among the sectors more touched by it, we can count a striking 81% from the hotel, tourism, and catering sector, and also 77% from the textile, clothing, leather, and footwear sector. These also easily, we can understand the reason behind this data. Impacts on suppliers chain and impact on import and export. We can see concerning the suppliers chain that many of the respondents did not find a significant impact on their activities. Actually, if we collect the information from who said no impact at all on their supplier chain, up to the ones who just felt a light impact, we go we raise to a 41%. So almost half of the participants didn't think that this was a significant, had a significant impact on their supplier chain. On import-export, this data is even more striking, because you can see that the huge majority, actually, if you consider the data only for no impact at all, 50% of the respondents said that they didn't have any issue in their import-exporting activities. If we consider this data connected to territorially, so limited territorially to the European Union, for me, this is a very positive message, because it means that despite all the difficulties that we are living at the moment due to the pandemic, the single market is still working, and working significantly. Financial impact, and these two graphs are quite interesting according to me because you can see a difference between them. When we discuss the impact of the pandemic on cash liquidity, many of the respondents declared having suffered from a shortage of cash liquidity. So you see, if we count them all together, we go to more than 60% of the respondents having faced this problem. The cash liquidity, again, I have to say, was not the same in all the sectors. So this is an average, of course. If we consider certain sectors, these were not touched by this problem. Again, we are talking about sectors that work in a very specific way. So, for example, as I was saying before, fisheries, but also we didn't have this problem for metal production, chemical industries, and so on. But again, I think these are very peculiar sectors that work in a different way, so we can understand why the impact has been different. On the contrary, access to credit. We expected, when we decided to include these two questions in our survey, a similar result. And this is not the case. So as you can see, for 41% of the respondents, there has not been an impact on their the processes to access credit. If we consider the light impacts also, we get to a huge majority of respondents, not considering the pandemic having had a significant impact on the processes. I want to say something though. As far as I'm concerned, having followed different discussions and even followed this topic before the pandemic, there is a general problem among women entrepreneurs in accessing credit. Sometimes women entrepreneurs are not considered as reliable as business partners or business operators as men. This has to be said. So the fact that this graphic shows that no significant impact has been felt by our respondents, it does not mean that the access to credit is easy. For me, it simply means that there was no significant difference from what was happening before. So I guess that if studies show that there is a general difficulty in certain sectors, at least, especially, for example, if we consider startups in accessing credit, then this is the same difficulty that women entrepreneurs kept during the pandemic. Impact on the business model. So this is a very interesting question. As a consequence of the pandemic, did I need to had to adapt my business model? The majority, 67%, declare yes, they had to adapt it either completely or at least partially. And this we come back to the first slide when I told you that we tried to make also an analysis according to the date that the company has been created. I have to admit, most probably I was led by a sort of misconception from my side, but I have imagined that newly founded companies, so of recent creation, could have faced more problems because they were not so well established. So maybe they were the one, or at least this was what I expected, that needed to adapt more the business model to the pandemic. Actually, this is not the case. I count 175 companies among the respondents that were founded in the last 5 years, and 47 out of them, which is a quite huge proportion, declared not to have to adapt their business model at all because of the pandemic. So I would say that this is worth investigating further, because indeed, at least from my point of view, it was not what I was expecting. We also wanted to understand how they have adapted their business model, and we asked two sets of questions. The first one, as you can see from the graphic on your right, is a question with pre-constructed answers. So we tried to categorize them, and the response show us that the biggest adaptation, it was the switch from offline to online. I have to say, first of all, that this could look contradictory from what we saw at the start. So not of the companies that were not already present online before the pandemic, only half of them had to adapt and get online because of the pandemic. So how is it possible that now the majority of respondents say, yes, I had to switch from offline to online? According to my opinion, this is due to the fact that when they answer to the first questions, they saw it as a complete shift of their activities and a shift of their target and other markets, most probably. So they completely moved their activities online because of the pandemic. So they could not have lead their activities normally. They had to use online tools. While here, the switch from online to offline is intended in a more general way. Indeed, we can see it from the next slide, where I asked participants to let me know exactly what kind of modification, adaptation they had to apply in their business. So we have 196 respondents talking again about going partially or totally online, but this includes a whole set of activities. Of course, quite a few of them told us that they actually had to start selling online, for example, because they could not open a shop, but or keep open their premises in general. But the online, this is intended in a more general way. So also as customer support, or also as integrating more online tools and softwares in the activity of their business. So not only simply selling online. So this is the difference between the two questions that we asked. What is interesting here is, first of all, that we have 5 respondents who actually benefited from the pandemic. But the reason why it's very clear, we're talking about companies working in sectors that were creating, producing things that were needed during the pandemic, such as sanitary equipment, so masks, for example. So it is clear why they didn't suffer from the pandemic. What is also interesting is that I would have expected maybe more companies letting us know that they had to make financial adjustments or scale down their activities. Concerning the scale down, we still have 42 respondents, which is quite a high number, but maybe I would have expected more. And I have to say that, as you can see, we have also some companies that had to definitively close down, and this is limited to a low number of companies. Digital skills. Did you have the digital skills to adapt your business model? We ask these questions, even though it can look repetitive, because we want to try to send a message to the institutions, but also to follow up a little bit after the survey. And this is a question that will allow to do so, because as you can see from the kind of answer that we prepare for them, we wanted to understand if they actually had or have today the tools necessary to make this digitalization of their company. As you can see, the majority of them declared having the skills to start digitalization processes, but still they recognize that they need further support or further training. So again, we will come at the end with the recommendation to this point. These concern more generally the business model. So we asked if there is a positive side in a negative moment. So will women entrepreneurs make use of this negative experience and of the adaptation that we could say were forced in their business activity in order to transform their business and to use this kind of transformation processes also once the pandemic will be over. So a striking majority of them said that they will keep some changes. And if we put this data together with the ones who would actually revise completely their business model, we get to 86%, 87% of respondents saying, yes, we learned something from this pandemic and we want to bring it further. Let's put it this way. Have you changed your vision on doing business? The vision for me is something different than the simple adaptation of business model. I guess that the adaptation of the business model concerns concrete activities that I had to test, let's put it this way, during the pandemic. And then I think and I decide if I want to keep them afterwards. The vision on doing business is something general, which includes also certain kind of activities or adaptation, transformation that maybe I didn't even test during the pandemic and because of the pandemic, but now I foresee as something interesting that in future I could take into consideration. Last question, have you benefited from measures, support from your government? We see that the majority said yes, that they made use of this kind of measures, and still a 41% declared not having made use of them. We actually do not know, we didn't want to know if this is due because they didn't think these measures were sufficient, and so they did not apply for them, or because they were actually not eligible for these measures. We didn't want to enter into a discussion on what the different governments are doing. We didn't want to judge, we want to be, let's say, proactive and constructive. So look at the future. Were the measures sufficient, though? For the majority of them were not sufficient. In this case, all the participants replied, even the ones who did not benefit from the support from the government. So actually they had an opinion. We can think that maybe some of them did not apply because they didn't consider them sufficient. I want to be lenient towards the national governments, also considering that if I draw from my personal experience, the countries that I know from personal experience, there have been also some delays. So maybe many measures have been launched, but still they have to be applied. They have to cover the whole territory. So it's still a difficult situation. I think that we will be able to judge the quality of these measures at a later stage. In any case, we go to the conclusions. As you have seen through the presentation, there are 4 points that, according to us, are very interesting. On one end, the digital skills. So women showed that they made use of digitalization when needed during the pandemic, but they also told us very clearly, we need further support, we need help, and we need training. This is something that the government should keep in consideration. Even though women show a biggest presence online comparing with all the other businesses, then still there's something to be done there. Better quality measures, not only because of the last slide that you saw, but more generally because most probably the measures that are applied still don't take into account the special needs of women entrepreneurs. And this is also something that the legislator should keep into account. Work-life balance, as we said, is also a very interesting aspect. On one hand, we have a negative impact of home working measures and lockdown on the work-life balance of women entrepreneurs. On the other hand, we see that given certain conditions, maybe a sort of work flexibility could actually help women entrepreneurs finding a better, a more balanced work-life relationship. Sustainable transformation. This is something that it's very dear to me because I think it's a trait of women, especially in general, but well, in this case, in the working sector. So it's the capacity that allow me to say we have to take something that is difficult, to take something that we had to do because we had to do it, and transform it in a real opportunity. So this is a starting point. Still, the legislator has a lot to do in order to help women entrepreneurs making this modification and this revision of their business model stable, and let them integrate them in their normal activities also when the pandemic will be over. So with this, I close my presentation. I hope you found it interesting. And yeah, sorry. Here we are. This done, I will give the floor to my colleague Tiziana Pompei, who will make a similar presentation and let us understand the discoveries that Unionchamere, so the Chamber of Commerce of Italy, found concerning their national network of women entrepreneurs. Before giving her the floor, I will inform all participants that Ms. Pompei will deliver the speech in Italian. So again, in order for you to follow, you have to click on the button at the bottom of your screen, interpretation, and switch channel. The system will automatically do everything. Thank you very much, Ms. Pompei. The floor is yours.
Sì, buongiorno a tutti. Saluto i rappresentanti della Commissione, del Parlamento, delle istituzioni europee e tutti i membri della rete Women Network. Ringrazio Eurochambres, l'amica Marta e naturalmente anche Giulia Rocchi per questo appuntamento e ovviamente i nostri colleghi di Unionchamere Europa che hanno contribuito alla realizzazione di questa iniziativa. È un appuntamento al quale abbiamo pensato molti mesi fa, perché volevamo valorizzare il nostro impegno europeo e abbiamo pensato di portare in Europa il nostro Giro d'Italia delle donne che fanno impresa, che è una manifestazione itinerante dei comitati per l'imprenditoria femminile italiani e che ogni anno realizziamo per incontrare le imprese e raccogliere le loro esigenze. Quindi questo giro, che è stato realizzato tra fine novembre e dicembre, oggi diciamo, si è concluso, diciamo, ha realizzato l'ultima tappa a Milano. Oggi, quella di oggi è sostanzialmente una sorta di chiusura di questo giro d'Italia e ovviamente d'Europa 2020. E come lo facciamo? Lo facciamo confrontandoci su quello che i sistemi camerali europei stanno facendo per affrontare la pandemia, confrontandoci appunto con i rappresentanti delle istituzioni per capire cosa serve alle imprese femminili a sostenerle e ad assicurarne la ripresa. Abbiamo ascoltato i risultati dell'indagine, cui hanno partecipato anche molte imprenditrici e libere professioniste italiane attraverso anche la sensibilizzazione fatta dai nostri comitati per l'imprenditoria femminile. Un'indagine, voglio dirvelo, che riteniamo di grande interesse, alla quale abbiamo anche dedicato un comunicato stampa che uscirà proprio questa mattina in Italia. Diciamo, a me il compito di darvi il quadro della situazione italiana, come emerge anche dal nostro rapporto sull'imprenditoria femminile e impresa in genere, che abbiamo presentato durante il nostro giro e che costituisce una fotografia, diciamo, statistico e qualitativa più aggiornata sulle imprese femminili e anche un focus sull'impatto della pandemia sulle imprese femminili. Partirò con un rapidissimo excursus sui dati relativi alla consistenza delle imprese femminili per poi condividere come le imprese femminili in Italia abbiano pagato poi il prezzo più alto di questa crisi. Questi sono i dati dell'Osservatorio sull'imprenditoria femminile che utilizzano i dati del registro delle imprese italiano che diciamo, fornisce una lettura di genere del fenomeno imprenditoriale. Lo ripeto, lo dico sempre in tutte le occasioni, questo è uno strumento unico sia in Italia che in Europa e costituisce una best practice che come sistema camerale italiano siamo assolutamente disponibili a condividere anche eventualmente come modello da utilizzare su scala europea. D'altra parte la pandemia ha anche dimostrato come l'uso intelligente dei dati alla fine sia un elemento fondamentale per le decisioni che debbono essere messe in campo dai policy maker e per il sistema di supporto anche alle decisioni fondamentale in questi momenti di incertezza. Allora, in Italia le imprese femminili sono 1.300.000, il 21,9% del totale delle imprese. Un'imprenditoria, se messa a confronto con quella non femminile, concentrata soprattutto nei servizi, di piccole dimensioni, con una componente giovanile importante, non solo per quanto riguarda l'età dell'imprenditrice, ma anche per quel che riguarda l'età dell'impresa, concentrata soprattutto nel sud e che prima del Covid, negli ultimi 5 anni, è sempre cresciuta di più rispetto al resto delle imprese. In questi 5 anni si è registrato, nonostante fosse un momento già di crisi, una crescita di circa il 3% contro lo 0,3% della crescita del totale delle imprese. E però a dicembre per la prima volta è stata registrata una battuta di arresto con un calo di quasi 4.000 unità rispetto all'anno precedente. Una perdita ancora contenuta, se vogliamo, che però interrompe una crescita costante degli ultimi 5 anni. Diciamo, sono soprattutto in Italia le regioni del centro e del nord che hanno visto questa riduzione importante. Si registra invece una lievissima crescita nel mezzogiorno. In Italia probabilmente riconducibile al fatto che almeno fino all'estate la pandemia ha colpito soprattutto alcune regioni dell'Italia. E però nonostante questo c'è un divario anche qualitativo che probabilmente almeno nel nostro paese va colmato rispetto e quindi diciamo dovrà tenersi conto di questo anche rispetto alle decisioni di investimento e le scelte che dovranno essere fatte anche con le risorse del recovery plan. Questo proprio per provare a ridurre anche questo gap. In Italia i settori più colpiti sono stati il commercio, l'agricoltura, la manifattura e invece crescono altri ambiti, altri settori, come abbiamo visto anche dalla precedente presentazione, e cioè quelli relativi alle attività professionali, all'istruzione, alle attività finanziarie ed assicurative, ai servizi immobiliari e servizi di informazione. E però un elemento interessante è anche che diciamo, l'emergenza ha prodotto una battuta d'arresto anche su una fetta importante dell'imprenditoria femminile, che è quella giovanile. E questo è anche un punto importante, un punto da sottolineare, perché anche se alla fine il tessuto rimane ancora diciamo prevalentemente mediamente più giovane, le aziende guidate da donne con meno di 35 anni sono passate dal 12% all'11,5%. E ma anche da sottolineare è il tema dell'occupazione, come è stato già diciamo messo in evidenza. La pandemia ha colpito moltissimo l'occupazione femminile e nonostante in Italia ci sia il blocco dei licenziamenti, c'è stato un fortissimo calo dell'occupazione femminile. A dicembre addirittura su 101.000 disoccupati, 99.000 sono state donne, quindi un calo importante che ha colpito soprattutto le donne, probabilmente perché i settori diciamo più colpiti da questa crisi sono stati quelli dei servizi, ma anche perché più spesso le donne sono impiegate in lavori precari che naturalmente sono stati, diciamo così, quelli che ovviamente più colpiti. Quindi ci auguriamo che una soluzione al tema dell'occupazione possa arrivare anche dagli investimenti sulle infrastrutture sociali, come appunto sul welfare, sugli asili nido, sulle misure di conciliazione, come è stato anche sottolineato poco fa, che potranno e dovranno essere al centro delle iniziative del Recovery Plan. Questo è lo scenario e il contesto. Volendo invece fare un bilancio sul periodo della crisi, c'è da dire che fino adesso questa ha colpito soprattutto la nascita di impresa, e cioè la voglia di fare impresa delle donne. Quindi sottolineando una maggiore fragilità delle imprese femminili, da un lato per il forte deterioramento della fiducia e anche l'aumento dell'incertezza, e anche perché poi le politiche pubbliche di sostegno in Italia, ma così come anche in tutti gli altri paesi, hanno anche salvaguardato la sopravvivenza, almeno in questa fase. E però il Covid ha colpito naturalmente anche le imprese esistenti e molti degli elementi emersi dall'indagine europea li ritroviamo anche nella nostra indagine nazionale. Quindi la criticità più forte è stata il calo della domanda, che è stato registrato da quasi 2/3 di tutte le imprese italiane, e però quelle femminili dichiarano di più di aver subito un deterioramento della liquidità, le difficoltà di approvvigionamento, il calo dell'occupazione, l'accesso al credito e anche delle difficoltà tecnologiche. Non a caso le donne, le imprese femminili in Italia sono state quelle che hanno più utilizzato le misure di sostegno alla liquidità. Quindi la crisi ha colpito tutto, ovviamente il tessuto produttivo, ma in particolare quello femminile, ed oltre la metà delle imprese ha dichiarato una riduzione del fatturato di oltre il 10%. Allora, quali sono invece le misure che chiedono le imprese, in particolare quelle femminili, per contrastare questi effetti della crisi? Sicuramente ancora misure di ristoro che sono state messe in campo appunto per fronteggiare la carenza di liquidità e soprattutto per far fronte al pagamento dei costi fissi, soprattutto per le imprese femminili, ma soprattutto misure per favorire l'accesso al credito e anche per sviluppare la digitalizzazione. E allora, per capire cosa serve per costruire la ripresa, abbiamo chiesto alle imprese femminili quando contano di tornare ai livelli pre-Covid, e viene fuori un quadro di maggiore difficoltà anche qui delle imprese femminili che hanno un certo ritardo di 2 o 3 anni rispetto al resto delle imprese per recuperare la caduta produttiva. Poche imprese dicono che ritorneranno ai livelli pre-Covid nel 2021 e molte invece lo vedono possibile solo nel 2022 e addirittura nel 2023. Un aspetto interessante invece che meriterebbe una riflessione a parte, ma che voglio trasferirvi, è che come anche emerso in altri passaggi del nostro rapporto, in realtà è la presenza del mix tra uomini e donne che mostra invece una più forte velocità nel recupero. Sono queste imprese che mostrano una più forte capacità di tornare o prevedono di tornare presto alla situazione preesistente, perché sono quelle imprese che risultano più competitive, più internazionalizzate, investono in innovazione E anche se poi rimane ancora forte il gap, soprattutto sul tema del digitale, sul tema della digitalizzazione. E qui voglio spendere giusto qualche parola perché è un tema cruciale, emerso dall'indagine europea e che dovrà essere affrontato in modo serio anche nell'ambito del recovery plan. Su questo abbiamo fatto una riflessione che vi trasferisco, ma giusto come spunto. Diciamo, abbiamo rilevato che uno dei fattori anche frenanti dell'innovazione delle imprese femminili può dipendere anche da un minor ricorso che le imprese femminili fanno a manager esterni, considerando che questi studi evidenziano delle performance superiori delle imprese familiari, anche familiari, gestite da manager esterni. Quindi perché questi sono in grado di portare nuove competenze, esperienze e visioni aziendali più aperte, e quindi questo è un ambito in cui vale la pena diciamo di investire. Quindi c'è un ritardo delle imprese femminili nell'agganciare le opportunità della digitalizzazione, anche per una minore conoscenza al tema, ma una maggiore però voglia di investire in queste misure. E quindi da questo diciamo, è sicuramente necessario ripartire per vincere anche la sfida economica e guadagnare in competitività. Quindi investire sulla conoscenza e supportare la propensione ad investire per una trasformazione, come abbiamo visto anche poco fa, del business ambientale. E per far questo bisogna puntare sulle giovani generazioni. Esiste infatti una imprenditoria femminile nuova, appunto quella giovanile, più vicina alle tecnologie e anche più consapevole che l'innovazione costituisce un vantaggio competitivo, così come anche altri fattori come la conoscenza, il welfare, gli investimenti green, che diciamo così possono costituire veramente un vantaggio competitivo. E su questo è necessario puntare. E lo si può fare anche, così come viene fuori dal nostro rapporto, coinvolgendo le imprese femminili, le giovani e anche le giovani donne, diciamo con un coinvolgimento e un collegamento più stretto con il sistema universitario, il sistema degli spin-off, per l'utilizzazione imprenditoriale in contesti innovativi dei risultati delle attività di ricerca e che rivestono un ruolo importante per il trasferimento tecnologico. E chiudo con un ultimo spunto. In questa nostra indagine ovviamente non poteva mancare una domanda sulle risorse del programma Next Generation EU che l'Unione Europea ha programmato per aiutare la ripresa economica e quindi cosa si aspettano le imprese femminili e su che cosa si dovrebbe concentrare questo piano. Quasi la metà delle imprese, senza differenze di genere, vede le politiche attive e l'accesso al mercato del lavoro la direzione su cui investire le risorse del piano. Le imprese femminili credono che sia importante la transizione verde che riguarda tutte le politiche per favorire lo sviluppo dell'economia circolare, dell'efficienza energetica, le energie rinnovabili e la mobilità sostenibile. Dunque, le risorse, se ben utilizzate, potranno essere fondamentali per valorizzare il potenziale inespresso dell'imprenditorialità femminile italiana e anche europea e contribuire ad una crescita più inclusiva, più sostenibile, più attenta agli stakeholders del territorio e che veda le donne protagoniste del cambiamento e della ripresa. Grazie.
Grazie veramente. Thank you very much to Ms. Pompei for this very interesting presentation. I see that, well, Some of the data are confirmed, so the situation, as we can expect, is similar in Italy and on the European level. And I find very interesting the fact that in your study, you also tried to focus on trying to understand what happens for new companies, for entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who wants to start a company. I think it's very important also to have this kind of analysis. Thank you very much again. Now I will move on, giving again the floor to Ms. Schulz, our chair.
Thank you, Giulia, and grazie mille per la buona collaborazione tu, Tiziana. Mille grazie. Thank you both for your interesting contributions. Unionchamere is particularly active among women entrepreneurs and a good example of how it can work at national level. Congratulations, Tiziana, mille grazie. And I'm particularly pleased that Angelika Winzig is with us today. She's a member of the European Parliament and a very good friend of mine. As a successful entrepreneur in the European Parliament, she has first-hand experiences from both the entrepreneurial and the political sphere. Angelika, I kindly ask you for your comments and explanations. Welcome.
Good morning, dear participants. Thank you, Marta, for the invitation and also for your kind introduction. Yes, I'm from Austria, more precise from Austria and Upper Austria, and I'm a politician and an entrepreneur. 23 years ago, I started my company, a powder coating plant. It belongs to the surface technology, and I'm still running it. Because of my complaints when I started my business, I was invited to a political engagement. Already at this time, I have been an enemy of bureaucracy. And firstly, I became the chair of my regional chamber of commerce. And then 2010, I started in the national parliament in Austria. And most recently, I have become a member of the European Parliament. So I think we speak later on the situation of entrepreneurs in politician. And I think we go into the field of COVID. We are living in uncertain times. The COVID crisis had a hold on Europe for more than 1 year. And while we are slowly progressing in tackling the health crisis, the economic crisis is still ongoing, and its impact on companies running by women is immense. What's the situation for SMEs and female companies in Europe? I think it's different. It differs from member state to member state, and it also differs from branch to branch. There are branches which are still very successful, for example, construction economy, supermarkets, manufacturing economy. And I'm also very happy that the industrial production recovers because many SMEs are very close to the industry. But there are many other branches which suffer a lot. For example, the tourism. Marta knows this best. And the situation also depends on the member state. How many lockdowns there are in the member state and how long do they last? And what help the member states offer their company. So let's speak about money, because the financing of our operations is one of the most important issues in this pandemic. In Austria, we have a very good support for our economy compared to other member states. Our federal budget, not the total one, per year is 70 billion euros, and 50 billion euros will go into the COVID measures. The successful tools in our country are the short-term work, the investment bonus, and the grants for the tourism. And how can the EU support our companies during these hard crises, these hard times? In April 2020, we started in the European Union with the enhancement of existing EU funds, programs managed by the EIF and the EFSI. The scope are loans for SMEs for growth, risks and innovation. Total amount around 11 billion euros. The new Invest Fund under our new MFF, which we will adopt in this parliament next week, provides all financial support measures under one roof, resources of 26.2 billion euros for 7 years, split between 4 policy windows are available. 9.9 billion euros for sustainable infrastructure, 6.6 billion euros for research and development, 6.9 billion euros for small and medium-sized companies, as well as 2.8 billion euros for social investment and skills. And last but not least, the Recovery and Resilience Facility under the program Next Generation EU, it was already mentioned, is available. 672.5 billion euros are available for the next 3 years. The member states are now asked to submit the programs until the end of April. And the measures in this program have to be very innovative with a focus on digitalization, on Green Deal, but also on SMEs. And the funds also have to pursue a gender smart strategy. So the money will land in our member states, and the member states have to enable you the access to this money. And it functions usually via intermediate banks. So I think these are good news for all entrepreneurs in Europe, also especially for the small and medium-sized one. But I also have very bad news. At the end, I don't want to destroy your mood, but we have several reports in the parliament. For example, the Aarhus Convention, where the NGOs get more power and more influence, the circular economy, the corporate due diligence and accountability, the sustainable corporate governance, and several social agendas. Looking all good at the first glance, but carries the risk of additional bureaucracy and additional costs. So I want to ask you to fight together against additional burdens for entrepreneurs on European level as well as on national level, because golden plating is also very popular in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Winzig. There is something that to me, it's very interesting of your speech, and it puts together the first part of your speech with the second. In the second, you talk about the measures that finally are coming, and this is very good news, but you also told us pay attention because there could be a lot of bureaucracy. And according to me, this you do, you can realize this because you draw it from your personal experience. You are an entrepreneur, so you understand what it means to be on that side, and you understand what actually businesses need. And I'm wondering, and I would like to ask to you exactly this: do you think that it's important, according to your experience, to have more entrepreneurs in the European Parliament, people who can understand the other side and say important things, as you said, that bureaucracy can kill even good measures?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm convinced that it is necessary that entrepreneurs are involved in the legislative process, because there are so many politicians who don't have any experience, I always say, in the real life, especially in the areas of economy and employment. So it is also very important, even in this time of crisis, to motivate especially also women, all ages, young women, elder women, for political engagement. Even I know it's difficult to combine both tasks, because free time is a luxury for me. But I think it's necessary, and Marta and all the entrepreneurs in the room now are also work also very hard, but it's necessary, and political engagement is necessary.
Thank you very much. I completely agree with what you said. And again, I thank you for all your speech and from the fact that your experience or personal experience can really be an added value for your job, both as an entrepreneur, but especially for all of us as a member of the European Parliament. Thank you very, very much for your words. I would like to ask a similar question to Ms. Schulz. So we talk about the importance of having entrepreneurs at the European Parliament to drawing from their experience. And I'm wondering, what about the involvement of Chamber of Commerce? What can Chamber of Commerce can do as operator on the ground?
Yeah, thank you, Angelica. A lot of thanks to you, and also to your powerful work and engagement in Brussels. We are very happy that we have a woman entrepreneur in Brussels in the European Parliament. Thank you so much. And yeah, what else can chambers do? Chambers of Commerce and Industry have various initiatives in place to support women entrepreneurship. Successful initiatives are collected and promoted in order to increase the visibility and encourage the development of similar activities in other countries. That is what the AWN is also here for, helping each other with the exchange of the best practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the speakers so far for your interventions. And since I know we are in delay and my colleague Adam will take over from my role, I will give immediately the floor to him because he's stricter than me and will pay attention than the speakers don't have delays. Thanks for your help, Adam.
Thank you very much, Julia. Thank you to all speakers. It's my pleasure to start the other part of our session, of our event today. We're going to have two sessions where we will discuss how to empower female entrepreneurs in Europe from two different sides. So first, we will have 4 excellent speakers representing different institutions that work on the European level, and then we will have an opportunity to discuss this with representatives of national chambers of commerce. So we will see how the support is being generated in member states and in other European countries. So just at the beginning, I would like to start with a very interesting data from one of the reports that will be presented today, namely a report that our speaker of the first session, Maria Lundqvist, will present to us. And the report says that, however, for 52% of Europeans are women, they constitute only 35% of self-employed in European Union, and only 30% of startup entrepreneurs. So it seems that there is a really big gap for the females in entrepreneurship. So it's important to have events like ours today and to speak about that, because certainly there is lots of to be changed in the attitude, and we need to act. So let me please start with our first session. I would like to first shortly introduce the speakers. So we will start with Ms. Dana Adriana Puya-Morel from DG Grow. Then we will move to Eva Merloni from the European Small Business Alliance. Then we will have Maria Lundqvist from the European Investment Bank. And the session will finish with Antje Gerstein, who is managing director in the German Handelsverband, but she also sits in the European Economic and Social Committee and will speak from both different perspectives. So without further delay, as Julia said, I would like to remind each speaker that you're going to have up to 10 minutes for intervention. I will try to keep that strict. So please, Dana, Adriana, you're first.
Thank you. Thank you for putting me first. I feel like we're such in a great company that it's difficult to choose who's going to speak first, but I'm going to start. What I like to say, Adam, and thank you for mentioning the figures, is that here at the European Commission, what we try to do, we try to support women entrepreneurs and those who think to become entrepreneurs to become the best version of themselves, to achieve their potential. And that's why I'm always careful when I look at the figures, because I don't want to force anybody to become an entrepreneur if they don't want to. If women choose other things, that's fine. What I want to do is I want to help the existing entrepreneurs. If they receive barriers, discrimination barriers, I want to help them there. And I want to help those who are would-be entrepreneurs who think about it, but don't dare. There's something about confidence there. They're not confident enough to make the jump. And I want to help those too. And that's why we put a lot of effort into entrepreneurial education. So we have a lot of small programs, but with a high impact, that trying to promote entrepreneurial education at an early age for both girls and boys. So we try to, have this component of girls in STEM. We call it STEAM because it includes the art and entrepreneurship, but we try to have that as early as possible so that girls, when they grow up, they know this is one of their choices, because we want girls, when they grow up, to make the right choice for them and to feel confident that they can do it, even though some things in society are there that say, well, this is not for girls. So we want to overcome that barrier. So that's what we want to promote. So we want to really help these women entrepreneurs become the best version of themselves, achieve their full potential. And that's why what we put in place, and I'm happy that Eva is going to speak after me because she can say more. So we decided to put in place and to sponsor the WeGate, which is a platform where women can meet, because we know that women entrepreneurs have smaller networks. They just start with friends and family. Well, we wanted to have this place. So first, to have this network to achieve this and to achieve a little bit of a scale at European level, and then to put some services in place there to receive this counseling, mentoring, maybe peer coaching, where they kind of help each other and they do business together, and those who are more advanced can advise the ones who are a little bit less advanced, and this kind of thing. So we want to put them in place in the WeGate. So in a sense, our baby initiative is the WeGate, and now we're testing it, and Eva is doing a great job. We're 1 year already into it to see, is it working? Do women need that? Because we need to really answer the needs of what do these women who are out there, or those who are thinking about it, or the girls who are just trying to get the idea, what are they doing? So we're trying this one. And on the other side, we're also trying to, in this entrepreneurial learning part, to help all entrepreneurs, but we watch that women are helped to get this entrepreneurial learning early. So what are the competencies that we need to become an entrepreneur? And we have this wonderful framework. I hope you all heard of it. It's called Entrecomp, the European Entrepreneurship Competence Framework. And there's great competencies there. You don't have to be proficient in all of them, but we think that by becoming aware and by knowing what's in there, it can help you become an entrepreneur. It can help you as a woman to gain more confidence, because we've seen that somewhere around puberty age, the age of 10, 12, 13, girls lose their confidence. So we want to bring that confidence up so that they become confident that yes, they can do it, that they go out there. And this entrepreneurship competencies, their role is actually to help. Also, we know the life of an entrepreneur is not easy, and we know there would be failure and success and failure. This is how it is, but in other parts of life as well. And when you learn from your failure, when you draw the lesson, when you look at, what's a gift in it, what have I learned? I failed, but what can I extract that's positive? Those competencies will help. So we have taking the opportunity, mobilizing others, learning through experience, all the 15 competencies in Entrecomp. So we try to offer this to women, to other kinds of other categories of entrepreneurs too, but to women because they need it more because of how our society is constructed. So I think I will stop here. I don't want to take the time. I want to make up the time, but this is basically what we're doing and how we think that we can help women entrepreneurs and would-be entrepreneurs out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was very interesting. Also, in Eurochambres, we also work with the Entrepreneur. We also have a project that sees looks for the ways how to implement it. So certainly there is an interesting and important aspect for female entrepreneurship there. So thank you very much for that. I would also like to remind all our participants that if you would like to pose a question to our speakers, you can do it through the Q&A tool in a Zoom. So at the end of our sessions, there will be a chance for these questions to be answered. So thank you very much, Donna Adriana. And then we will move to Eva Meloni. So that was also mentioned by you, so it's a good connection. Eva Meloni is from the European Small Business Alliance, and she also manages the European Gateway for Women Entrepreneurship, a project that gathers stakeholders to engage them and to help engage them in actions that support women entrepreneurship. So we are very curious to listen how you're doing and maybe what have you been doing during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam, and thank you, everybody. Good morning. I'm Eva Merloni, and I'm the project manager of WeGate. So I'm going to present to you briefly the project, sharing my screen with the presentation. I would like just, doesn't move. Okay. Here we are, sorry. So first of all, WeGate is a 3 years European project funded by COSME program. And it started in February 2020. So we are almost in the middle of the project with more than 1.5 years in front of us. So we have time to still implementing many activities. The project WeGate stands for European Gateway for Women's Entrepreneurship, and it's based on 4 main pillars that are: we grow, we inspire, we learn, and we debate. That means that WeGate is more than just an online platform, because it's what it is. It's an online platform, but more with more functionality. So it's also a network of entrepreneurs across Europe and beyond. It's also a community sharing best business opportunities, practices, and inspiring stories. But it's also a place where women entrepreneurs can find useful information and training opportunities, as well as a platform to bring forward relevant issues on women entrepreneurship. WeGate is a community-based project. In fact, all the activities we implement are shared before with our community. That is a community that supports us in representing and advocating women entrepreneurs' interest, influencing women entrepreneurs' public policy processes, and also support all the WeGate project operations, so in the current and future activities. The community is organized in 3 different levels. There is the wider communities that is open for all stakeholders interested in the women entrepreneurship topic in Europe that can contribute into the platform and also benefit from all the events and the activities organizing within the project. Then there is the Community Council that is a sample of the top movers in women entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs, relevant stakeholders, and they are kind of co-creators with us of all the activities of the project. And then there are the thematic groups that are groups within the community addressing key priorities for women entrepreneurs and also facilitate exchange of knowledge and practices. Currently, the WeGate community is composed by 2012 members coming from 43 different countries and from different sectors, mainly represented by services, but also communication, textile and clothing, ICT, and tourism sector. While the Community Council is composed currently of 24 council members that are WeGate co-creators. And we are currently working all together to develop a networking strategy and an advocacy plan. Okay, here you can see all the logos of the main institutions that are represented within the Community Council, just to show that we have quite a broad representation in Europe. But just going into more in detail of the topic of today. So what we did and still does for women entrepreneurs during the COVID pandemic. We implemented, first of all, organized quite many webinars and events aimed at supporting women entrepreneurs in times of COVID, but also organized access to finance webinar that we all know are still very important and relevant for women entrepreneurs. And also in December 2020, we organized the first summit event in which we dedicated a specific discussion on the topic of the COVID impact on women entrepreneurship. And I just take the chance to tell you that if you didn't participated at the summit, but if you are interested in, you can find all the highlights video and the recording on our YouTube channel. And I really recommend to have a look at them because there were very nice and inspiring discussion and debates there. Furthermore, we also try to share and promote as much success stories and best practices as possible. So what we have done in this last year was to promote the best practices and success stories of our community members, because we know that networking is super important. But more than networking, if a woman entrepreneur is in this difficult situation and is facing really big challenge, is super important to see that other women are facing the same problem and maybe they find a way to overcome this problem. And the sharing of this inspiring story might really help everybody. And last but not least, one of the key action of WeGate is the WeBarometer. The WeBarometer is the first pan-European survey aimed at assessing the cultural, social, and economic context of women entrepreneurship in Europe. And the objective is to collect data in order to fill in the gap that we know we have on women in general, on lacking of data on women, but in particular on women entrepreneurship. So the first version of the WeBarometer was published and presented during the summit event and is available in our website. Here you can see just some brief results that are the same that you have already mentioned in the previous presentation. But of course, being the survey released in 2020, we couldn't leave aside the COVID pandemic. So we dedicated a specific session on the survey. And again, you can find all the report on our website, but just to give you some data that maybe are a bit different or integrate the data that have been shown before. Unfortunately, the majority of the respondents, the 27%, declared that they had a decrease by more than 50% in the demand due to the COVID-19, and unfortunately 2% businesses has been closed due to the pandemic. That are pretty bad data. On the other hand, we can still see some, the optimistic approach of women entrepreneurs. In fact, the majority of them declared that they expect an increase by 1 to 25% in the demand in the next 6 months, and we really hope that this will be true. And what's next? We are going to organize many other activities and initiatives supporting women entrepreneurs for starting and growing their business. In particular, we're going to have access to finance webinars, online study visits, and hopefully in-person study visits at the end of the year, peer learning webinars, and again, our summit event in October. But beside the events and the initiatives, we are also working on specific actions in order to improve the platform and the services that the platform can provide. And in particular, we are working on developing a marketplace with a matchmaking opportunities, a community forum, and a partnership opportunities tools. And I would like just to briefly touch and talk about the marketplace. That will be our main strategy to ensure the financial and long-term sustainability of the project. So here the idea is to create a space dedicated just to women entrepreneurs to meet each other and to create this ecosystem in which all women entrepreneurs can offer and require on-demand expertise to tackle their most important challenges. It will be a user-friendly tool and in which women entrepreneurs will create their profiles, and then they make a characterization of their services in terms of prices, location, kind of services, and so on. And also it will be quite easy to understand what kind of services are available in the platform and what kind of activities women entrepreneurs can exchange between each other. So we are currently working on defining the marketplace. This is our timeline, but that you can see afterward in the presentation. So if you want to join us and to give us your feedbacks and comment, please register yourself in the portal, try to be part of the community, becoming a community member of WeGate. We have also the function of Ask Anna that has a 24-hour supporting service. So if you have any questions, please write to Ask Anna and we will get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Emma. It was very interesting, very inspirational. So it seems that your platform works very well in the pandemic times. Yeah? Everything is done online, so it's a real gate for women entrepreneurship. So it's very interesting. Thank you very much for sharing this. I guess the presentation will be also available for the participants. So you're able to follow that on your own. Thank you very much. So then we will move from the platform for stakeholders to speak about financing of the entrepreneurship, which is also very important and important component. So now we'll have Marie Lundqvist from the European Investment Bank, who will present us with a report of the EIB on financing female entrepreneurship. Will show us on what are the challenges, but also what are positive trends there. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And you will see my camera in one window and you will hear me from another. I mean, there are IT issues and I will try to, so let me know if you cannot hear me, but I will first try to share my screen so you will see my presentation here, which does not seem to share my entire screen. This one, let me just do this.
Yes, I confirm we can see the presentation.
Okay, excellent. So hello everyone, and thank you for inviting me as a speaker here today. And thank you to the organizers and all the other excellent speakers, and of course all the participants that are listening in. So my name is Maria Lundqvist, and I am representing the EIB group. And I will present our work on gender smart investment and also speak a little bit about how we work at the EIB with women entrepreneurs. So as mentioned, I work at the European Investment Bank Group, which consists on the one hand of the European Investment Bank, where I work, and then we also have the equity arm, the European Investment Fund. And I'm a finance advisor working for the Innovation Finance Advisory team, so we are a small dedicated team of finance advisors. And what we do is that we advise organizations, companies, on the financing of their research, development, and innovation across various sectors, and sometimes, or the aim is to try to make these projects bankable. And in addition, we also advise candidates for the European Innovation Council Accelerator, which is a blended finance instrument that was or is initiated by the European Commission, and that offers combinations of grants and equity investments. And more broadly, we work in our team with innovative sectors, and our expertise is quite broad. So it both include digital sectors within deep tech, and much now we speak about artificial intelligence and blockchain, quantum technologies. But another big strand of our work concerns sustainability and climate, hydrogen, nature-based solutions, and also on life science, circular economy, bioeconomy. And as you might be aware that the European Investment Bank, now we are the climate bank. So a cross-cutting theme across everything we do relates to sustainability and the climate action. And on the other hand, we also have another cross-cutting theme, which is exactly what I will touch upon today and what we have been speaking about so far. So taking a more diversity and inclusive lens to all our activities, both within the organization, but of course also in our lending and financing activities. So I will jump into, let me see. Yeah. So if we start by looking at what trends we have observed over the past recent years in terms of demand and interest from women entrepreneurs and their access to finance. So within our Innovation Finance Advisory, IFA team, so we wanted to take a little bit of a longer term perspective on, in particular, the venture capital funding for women driven companies on the European level. So what we did is we did a market study, and with this report the aim was to contribute to the existing body of evidence by assessing access to risk capital conditions for, as mentioned, women driven companies. And we also analyzed trends of the VC funding landscape in the US and in Israel, to look at some cross-country regional barriers and gap and how it differs. So this study was conducted together with by support of the European Commission, and we cooperated with the pitch book. And so I sent a link to this study in the chat if you want to have a look. It was released about half a year ago, a little bit more, in June 2020. So if we look at the key findings and the main considerations for action. So first, what we saw is that hurdles and biases persist. So the European pool of women-led companies and female entrepreneurs is still quite limited. And there is a lack of women in investment decision-making roles, which adds to also the financing gap. And we also see that there is some higher risk aversion when it comes to female-led companies. And the role of the public sector is key in crowding in more private capital and also improve the later stage funding for female-driven companies. And secondly, and luckily this I will focus on a little bit more later on, but so we see a few positive trends that are emerging, and so we find evidence that in the longer term there is all the reasons to be optimistic. Of course, there is a lot of work to be done, but overall increase of VC funding, we see that financing is indeed increasing, although it starts from a low point. And also that female-led companies, they attract more investment at later stages, and also that they actually outperform the market in various, we're looking at various measures. And thirdly, so despite all these positive trends, there are structural inequalities and biases that persist in terms of both supply and demand for finance. And so for this reason, we need some action to actually overcome this, the knowledge and funding gap. But let me continue here. So looking at these positive trends, so first, we see both that the share and the total value of venture capital funding to women-led companies are growing. And what we saw with the data was that, so companies with at least one female key executive on a key executive position between 2010 and 2017 increased in terms of share from 23% to 32%. So although it's still at the low absolute level, it has increased. Secondly, we see also that more exits from for women-led companies within the EU is also increasing. And why is this important? Because it increases the reflow potential of capital. There is a tendency that more women-driven companies or women-led companies tend to also invest in other women-driven, women-led companies. And thirdly, as mentioned, that we see evidence that women-led companies attract more investment at later stages, which later stage compared to seed or early stage VC financing. And lastly, which also make a very good reason for making this all visible, is that indeed women-led companies tend to outperform in later stages of the company. And for example, here we saw that 21% higher profitability for companies in the top quartile of gender diversity. And also just to add that all this, I mean, it goes in line with what Tiziana Pompei, what you said, that in the last 5 years, the numbers of female-led firms that you said in Italy has increased, and that it only decreased in 2020. So indeed, we see that this is all pointing to a positive longer-term trend, which is something we find extremely encouraging. But as said, there are many things that need to be done, and I will not go into depth in this in this slide. But what I would want to say with this is that it just highlighting the fact that in Europe we have quite some concentration, which also in some ways is quite natural. But the top 5 countries, they really make up the vast majority of all. Now we looked at Series C funding to women-led companies, and as you can see, they correspond to the sizes of the company, except, or the country, sorry. So UK, Spain, France, and Germany. Although we also have Sweden here, which stands out, but that is also another. We know how the Nordics are quite at the forefront when it comes to women entrepreneurs and venture capital funding. But overall, the enabling ecosystem is key to build up in many countries. So it's not only about funding. And then if we move a little bit to the recommendations that we come to conclude in this report. So they are basically grouped into 4 big blocks on the policy side, on the financing front, also advisory and awareness raising. And I will not go more into depth into this, but we also looked at them from a shorter term perspective and a longer term perspective. And not to take too much time, that I know we are still, but very short also on what we do at the EIB to increase access to finance for women entrepreneurs and female founded companies. So in terms of concrete products we have at the European Investment Bank, I will just give you very brief some examples that we have. The from the EIF, we had the Innofin SME guarantee window, where the EIF shares risk with intermediated partners, and the guarantee provided by the EIF to a portfolio up to 250 million, and that is to be built by CaixaBank in Spain, and also we have a few other projects in that. And on the venture debt side, which is quite of a unique product we launched a few years ago, which is basically a quasi-equity type of financing. And this one also goes in line with our gender equality strategy. And one example here is Nuritas, which is a biotech company funded by Noura Khalli. And here we provided a 30 million venture debt loan to increase and accelerate the development of artificial intelligence and DNA analysis to improve global healthcare.
Oh, you do.
And then as a third, we have also targeted the intermediated loans, where, for example, we provided 22 million to Garanti Bank in Romania, of which at least 5 million were devoted to female entrepreneurs. And that one was also matched by 5 million from the Garanti Bank. And if we move a little bit further, so of course, internally as well, we are working on the gender front. And so back in 2016, we launched the first EIB group gender strategy. And now there is one coming up now in this year. It has been working progress during the past year, I would say. And the strategy is overall based on 3 different pillars: on protect, impact, and invest. And if you want, or if you are interested in how we work with this, I can also send you the link. There is quite a large share of material on this. And also if we look a little bit on the changes that has now happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. So firstly, it's also the survey result of your Eurochambres, your excellent survey that was presented in the beginning, that showed this, that home care work has increased in particular for women. And we can also see that in many fronts, the crisis has had a particularly tough take on working women. And also we have some figures that said that in the US, for example, comparison to other downturns, women have lost more jobs than men. And this is also something we see in Europe. And there was a study recently in the UK as well, where it said that mothers were 23% more likely than their counterpart, let's say the father, actually to lose their job or to have lost their job during this pandemic. And of course that's a setback. But again, we see a longer term positive trend, and I think it's very important that we keep on working and to make the best out of it, because also the whole pandemic is opening up doors for other type of entrepreneurship, and also what was discussed earlier in the session, that that it can have some positive benefits. But in relation to the changes now we have seen over the past year, is that, yeah, I mean, what we have all experienced is the acceleration of the digital transformation. So our lives have, they have basically moved online. So really the power of the tech sector, or the power of information technology, has increased even further. And the tech sector, yes, indeed, is one of the fastest growing industry we see now. So since it's set that it will most likely drive very much of our future economic growth. It's key to have our female participation in these sectors. But as also has been touched upon, the digital gender gap, especially on the skill side. I will not elaborate even or further on this, but I think it's and this is something we are working on as well, how to reduce the digital gender gap and use digital technologies to empower women, to empower female-led companies, entrepreneurs, and to bridge this gap. Of course, there are many factors that need to be done, but of course, to at the first place include women in the tech sector, and when it comes to digital skills, really try. If I remember correctly, you said that Julia, when you spoke about the results of your survey, that 16% declared that they did not, or no, it was even more, I think, that needed some type of training and support. Maybe it was 25%. Yeah, but in any case, I mean, it's good or extremely good to have this type of service to actually see that indeed there is much to be done on the digital skills front. But of course, also when it comes to flexible working arrangement and so on, and overall support, provide support.
Maria, I'm sorry, I have to rush up a little bit.
And here, thank you. And here you have the contact details in case there is anything. You can either contact me directly or go to our EIB Innofin website. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much for this very interesting data. I find it very interesting also that you presented us with many solutions for this issue. I find also very interesting that actually when there is more women, it accelerates more women-friendly environment. That is a great thing to build on. So thank you very much. Then we will move the last speaker in the first session to Antje Gerstein from Handelsverband Deutschland, who's also a delegate to the European Economic and Social Committee. She will present us with recent work of the European Economic and Social Committee on how to support female entrepreneurship, but also will share experience of the German retail sector in times of the pandemic. So Antje, please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and hello everybody. I'm really impressed by the level and quality of this event. It's fantastic. I am today replacing Christa Schweng, who is our president of the European Economic and Social Committee, the first female president, by the way. And she sends her apologies. She would have loved to come, but unfortunately it was not possible for her. So, and she also sends her regards and all the support. So as you might be aware, the European Economic and Social Committee is a consultative body within the European institutions with 3 benches. So there is a workers' bench, there is a civil society bench, and an employers' bench. And I'm coming or representing today the employers' bench. And in my normal life, I'm managing director of the German Retail Association and responsible for European affairs and sustainability. So I will a little bit wear both hats, and hope I can just sort of wrap up or help to wrap up this first meeting with some insights. Now I will also try to share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, okay. So very good. So let me maybe first highlight that of course the pandemic in the whole society, as we know, it has been said several times this morning, had the effect of an accelerant, so to the good and to the bad, and surely this will also affect positive and or reinforce positive and negative trends for female entrepreneurship. What we have observed in retail, I will come to that, back to that later, but I think that's really a general trend. The winners are those who manage to digitalize, and I think this is really a fact you can watch, and we've been able to watch that in the last year. So I'm always saying welcome to phase one of the transformation, and now we have to empower female entrepreneurs to be part of that, active part of that transformation. So what has the EEC done in the field? I think there are three opinions. As I said, it's a consultative body, so we would not be involved in active projects, but it has issued some important opinions, which are listed here. So there's one on gender equality in European labor markets, which is rather general, but has really some good statements in it. And as I said before, it's always statements that come from three benches. So it has a certain strong symbolic character if trade unions, employers, and civil society agree on these kind of statements. So there's another opinion on gender equality issues and a gender equality strategy, but I would like to highlight this first one, gender equality in European labor markets. So what are the key messages? Female entrepreneurship is lagging behind and needs to be fostered. So that is also a call on the European institution. I was very impressed to hear about the projects related to Smes today, that these endeavors have to be enforced. Because of course there is an enormous potential, particularly in the digital economy and technological innovation. Access to finance is another important issue that has to be improved. And of course, the transition between job statuses has to be facilitated. So becoming maybe from an employee to an independent entrepreneur might need some kind of transition mechanisms that make it easier. In that report, there are also some figures. I think Adam mentioned them, but I think they're worth to be repeated because they are quite impressive and show us where we are. So it says women constitute 52% of the total European population, but only 34.4% of the self-employed in the EU and 30% of startup entrepreneurs. So it also states that self-employed women are less well off than self-employed men. 76.3% of self-employed women are own account workers without employees, compared to 69% of men. So men are obviously more often business owners with employees, and women often self-employed without employees and a higher risk of low income. So that is surely one hook where improvement is needed, and where we can see that the entrepreneurial potential is underexploited. So currently there's also work going on teleworking and gender equality. We will see what comes out of this report, but I'm sure also with this year of pandemic, we will see some quite interesting statements in there. There are some other initiatives from the EEC I would like to highlight. There has been quite a significant event already 2 years ago. women, the largest disruptive force in business. That was an event by the employers group. So I'd like to mention this because you can see that also within the employers, we do see that there is a huge potential which we want to foster and reinforce. And then we also have a sort of a new process, which is maybe more self-critical, that we have a follow-up group on gender equality, so that we managed to introduce a gender perspective and include it in all EC opinions, assessing if women and men are impacted differently by the considered EU initiative. So I think there has been really a change of paradigm, and that also in a maybe formerly more man-dominated institution like the EESC, we get things moving in a good direction. Now, I put my other hat on, but I think it fits in quite well and also makes it easier for you, Adam, to make the transition to the next panel. Now, what does we also, as a German retail association, have started our own diversity initiative. So what do? We showcase good practice examples, which is really as we get very positive feedback, is very inspiring. I mean, I've said it before, retail is a very female sector, but of course also with a high degree of low paid jobs. So we are challenged as a sector to create perspectives for many women that are employed in retail, maybe to become entrepreneurs themselves. As I said before, we have webinars supporting female entrepreneurs, i.e. retailers, in digitalizing their business. And as I said, those who manage to survive the crisis, I mean, it has dramatic impact, particularly on SMEs. But they are those who manage to build up online stores in parallel, use platforms, etc. We help with access to finance and also provide legal advice. But I think one key thing that is also very future oriented is also to promote upskilling. So upskilling these days means skills in digital. We have created 2 years ago a new profession. You know, we have our dual educational training system. We have created a new profession called e-commerce clerk. So that means that in retail companies, we now have the possibility to have a 3-year vocational training to build up the needed digital skills. So those are just examples, and female response to this new profession is really very, very high. And last slide, just to show you, we are also very engaged in diversity in general and female participation in particular. So there is, we have mentoring programs that are quite significant. So you can see that we have a topic a week, putting female entrepreneurs in the spotlight. And we also work together a lot with Google, because we see that visibility of female enterprises is also key to success. So these are just some projects running, and I'm happy to answer any kind of questions and try to be very brief at this moment. So thank you.
Thank you, Antje, very much. It was very interesting to see also the fact that you're in the European Economic Social Committee, and you're also very linked to the retail sector. It means that you really know what is happening, and you're working on real solutions and real proposals at the committee. It's great and very interesting to see how it works. Thank you very much. I hope we'll also be able to share a presentation with the participants. And then you also made a very good link with the next session. So thank you very much, because indeed we are now moving from the European level to more to national levels, to regional levels, where our members, so the chambers of commerce and industry, they also develop their own ideas, initiatives, projects on supporting female entrepreneurship. I wanted to give first the opportunity to our speakers in the second session to introduce themselves, but I will ask you to take all the questions at once, given some time constraints that we have now. So I will go in the same kind of in a similar way as previously, so separately with our four speakers. So in short, we are going to have four representatives of chambers of commerce and industry. So we will start with Piret Potisep from the Estonian Chamber of Commerce. Then we'll move to France, where President Fanny Rouen from French Chamber will address us. Then we'll move to Spain, where Marta Diaz Alonso will intervene, and we will finish with Ms. Hürriye Uslu, President of Manisa Women Entrepreneurs Council from the Turkish Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So first with Piret. So there's 10 minutes, maybe 8 for you, please.
Hello, good morning to everybody. And let me just start my watch, because usually I'm in the place of moderator, and I know how difficult it is for a moderator to keep everything on time, especially in a digital world. So greetings from Estonia. I hope all you can see my slides. And yes, I wanted to share very shortly what we've done here in Estonia. Very pragmatic, so very shortly about myself. I joined the chamber in October 2016. Prior joining the chamber, I had been working in public, private and NGO sector, and I had done it in Latin America, in China, in Europe. And I started my own company back in 2019. Which meant very briefly before the pandemic hit us. And my own company is about tailor-made design tools. So something what is suffering a lot during this time and the global pandemic. But meanwhile, what happened in Estonia, we got our first female prime minister. And actually now it's the only state in the world where we have a female president and female prime minister. And why I show it to you and share it with you is exactly the same what the previous speakers had been telling and reflecting, that the female entrepreneurs need the examples and inspiration, and the same goes for girls in general. They need the inspiring examples in order to envision themselves taking a leadership roles, whether in public sector, in NGO, or in private sector. And it's the first government actually which is 50% of female ministers and 50% of male ministers. And too early to give any comments. Obviously, the expectations are very high towards the new government, because there was a lot of dissatisfaction with the previous government, but time will tell. So very briefly, how the pandemic has been evolving in Estonia. So we managed very, very well with the first wave, but it meant also 2 months lockdown from mid-March until mid-May back in 2020. and we had a very widespread support measures for SMEs and also for bigger companies. The second wave of pandemic was handled with less restrictive measures, but new restrictions are in force since 1st of March this year, and the numbers are growing really fast. And some are telling it's the initiation of third wave. Some are telling it's the continuation of a second wave. Time will tell. But we have been very privileged throughout the whole year, actually, because we have been able to enjoy the theater, the cultural life, also the shopping malls. Everything has been opened until this Monday. And even now there's a big debate on whether the shopping mall should be opened or not. And today we have a governmental meeting. So, and we hear the news in about 20 minutes. But what is different is the approach by the government on support measures. So once it was very widespread during the first wave, it's now they do their best to tackle the specific sectors and the ones who are really in deep need for the governmental support. And this is something what can be also a burden, because, for example, if the hotels receive via support, then the laundry company who is doing all the services for the hotels, they're left out from the support scheme. So all those small things are happening, and we try to cover them and pass it to the policymakers. But as previous speakers were referring as well, one of the things what got the most let's say negative impact during the whole pandemic time was the diversity and inclusion. And diversity and inclusion has been in the focus for the Chamber already before the pandemic. We have done it in collaboration with Diversity Charter here in Estonia, also with the HR Managers Association, and also together with the different embassies of countries who are front leaders of diversity. So I won't specifically mention on the slides about the initiatives on diversity. I just encourage you to be very consistent on diversity initiatives. These can't be once only activities, because the changes won't come fast. However, just today I shared the event we had last year about gender diversity and also about the age diversity. And unfortunately, we all know that then the number of unemployed people goes up, there are more probable that the people in the elderly age will be left out from the application. As for the female specific events, we had them before, but we had always had a focus on export. And then there were no physical events taking place. We came up with the idea that we still should encourage the networking of female entrepreneurs and female peers. So we initiated via Female Leaders Club, and it's been really wonderful to receive so much great feedback from the participants, because the format is short but gives a floor to everyone participating to share, not only the speakers but all the participants as well. And what we also did, we made the collaboration event together with UK Embassy in Estonia in order to deliver the female leaders and help them in being more powerful in their presentations. So this is just a very short recap about the format. So it's actually 15 minutes into the concept. This is what radical candor has been discussed in the business environment all around the world. brilliant book by Kim Scott. If you haven't had time to read it, I advise to take the time now during the when the lockdown is still on. And then we had 2 female leaders to discuss about the concept and what ways she has worked throughout their career and what hasn't. And then we had 30 minutes discussions within smaller groups, and then we had a wrap-up round with all the participants. And it was very practical and very pragmatic. And throughout those smaller discussion groups, like several female leaders shared their practices, what they are doing in their organizations. And it was brilliant, and it was short. And everyone is welcome to copy it, try it out, and let me know later if it works for your country or not. Because here in Estonia, we see it really works. And tomorrow we're going to have a next female leaders club, and it's about the anxiety before presentation and the stress and the methods how to diminish both. Thank you. Any questions? I'm here to give you the answer.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pira. It was very interesting to hear what Estonia has been doing, and it's great to see that you're not keeping rights for intellectual property for that, but you're happy to share it, and I'm sure that this will be interesting concept to apply elsewhere. Thank you very much. So of course your presentation will also be shared with participants, and then we'll move from now probably quite cold Estonia to a little bit warmer France. So Miss Fanny Rouen from France will address us now. So if I can ask you to introduce yourself, and then we'll follow with questions.
Okay, thank you, Adam. My name is Fanny Rouen, founder of the company Fanny Steel in 1998. We specialize in the design and manufacturing of tailor-made products, packaging and promotional accessories for our clients. Recently, we create new workshops specialized in fabrics, particularly to make clothes. I am the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Amiens-Picardie in the north of France, and the president of the Regional Club of Women Entrepreneurs, Diane. And I am in charge of women entrepreneurship in CC France.
Great. And you mentioned that that Club Diane. I know it works for support of female entrepreneurs. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, in fact, Diane was created in 2001. Women represent 52% of the population, but they constitute, as you said before, Adam, 30% of business managers. Moreover, those women are mainly working for small businesses rather than large ones. And CC Amiens-Picardie has created this club, the Club Diane, to meet the expectations of those women who run small businesses. And we organize regular meetings where we can exchange and network on concrete topics related to the daily management for our companies. We can rely on the network to find solutions. This allows us to increase productivity and of course, efficiency. We have also developed a digital platform which allows our members to send requests and at any time, and to get answer very, very quickly. This helps them to better coordinate their private and professional life, because we know that we have several lives. And I want to insist on the importance of this support, because we know that enterprises which are accompanied are 25% more likely to survive in the long term as compared to companies that do not receive any help. And today, this long-term support is all the more important since small businesses are fragilized by the crisis. So supporting women-led businesses is a key challenge for the recovery. This is one of the reasons why we are going to strengthen our mobilization at the national level. For example, by nominating a contact point per region within our CSIs on the topics of women's entrepreneurship. The new CCI Women Entrepreneurs label will give more visibility to the role of the Chamber of Commerce. We also produced a communication document with our best action to support women entrepreneurs. And in addition, in March, our CCIs will be mobilized on a national awareness campaign to promote women entrepreneurship. 60 CCIs will enable 200 women entrepreneurs to meet about 4,000 young people and share their passion and for business creation. We need really role models to inspire the young generation. The CCIs will also produce video of success stories. This is important, in fact, to break down the stereotypes and the barriers that women impose on themselves and from an early age, in fact.
Okay, that's very interesting. So just like one question to follow up, because like you're president of the regional chamber and also a business leader. So I just wanted to ask, what is your experience of leadership, particularly in the context of the ongoing crisis and also the economic transformations that we are having now?
Thank you. In fact, I think it's difficult, but every crisis is an opportunity to reinvent oneself, above all the society. Fanny Steel company, the company I run, has recently developed a new activity. We have created a sewing workshop, a garment factory, in fact, to create various fabric products, such as clothes. Our workshop is located just next to a local company that is a manufacturing textile, but in fact a kniter. And the aim is to co-create a textile cluster. Our clients are companies, local authorities, and clothes brands, which wants to produce really in France. Also, the geographical proximity with the fabric manufacturer allows us to develop environmental friendly activities because it's very near. The period of lockdown during which we started to manufacture masks has been in fact like an accelerator of our diversification because at start we just fabric mask. And during the crisis, we have increased our staff from 9 to 34 employees. And in fact, we have two sorts of employees who are more than 50 years old and employees who just finished school. The first category starts their careers in the textile industry. That was in our territories in the past before the deindustrialization. This represents a real add value for our company. There is indeed a complementary among the employee as they share their skills and different experiences with each other. So I believe that one of the main challenges for entrepreneurs today, especially women, is to be able to keep up with the daily routine while transforming their businesses. The role of CCIs is to support entrepreneurs in these structural transitions, such as the green and digital transition, for example. Finally, reinventing oneself requires us taking risk. We must support women entrepreneurs by helping them to identify the trends that will shape tomorrow's economic landscape, by ensuring that the transformation of their new business model is stable, by developing, for example, distance learning and specific programs for women entrepreneurs. But especially, and this will be my last words, we must motivate them and inspire them. Women entrepreneurs are essential for the economic recovery in our territories. So we need to show them, and especially the young people, that it's possible to be successful in these regards. It's essential to promote more role models and to reassure them with our support. And in fact, and it will be really my last words, let's help women to dare to take more risk, to dare to take up challenges.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It was very inspirational. And it seems that you put lots of efforts to motivation and setting leadership examples. That's important, especially if we have such gaps in the female as in entrepreneurs, but also in the leadership positions. Thank you very much for that. So then we will move to Spain. So Ms. Marta Diaz Alonso from the Chambers of Commerce of Spain will talk to us how they are supporting women entrepreneurs, also through their local chambers. So, Marta, do you hear with us?
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
hear me?
Perfect, yes.
Okay, I will share my screen. One moment. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, well, good morning, everyone. I am Marta Diaz from the Spanish Chamber of Commerce, and I work on a European Social Fund project manager. I specifically coordinate the Women Entrepreneurship program that we developed. I would like to thank our chambers to give us the opportunity to participate in this event and disseminate our best practices supporting entrepreneurship women during the pandemic. So I would like to introduce first this program that we developed. Since 2001, the Spanish Chamber of Commerce developed this program that is focused in female entrepreneurs and business owners, with the coordination of the local chambers that we have across Spain and the Women's Institute in Spain and the European Social Fund, with the financial support of those both members. Every woman can access to this program, as you can see in the slide, since we offer business advice at any stage of the business project. However, we also support business owners in consolidating and modernizing their businesses. With this program, we aim to promote equal opportunities between women and men. That's why we have the support and the financial support of the Women's Institute in Spain, and also raise women's awareness and their environment towards self-employment. We offer different kinds of services, information and business advice, for example, general in terms of social and economic matters, labor legislation, business projects. We also offer webinars nowadays due to the pandemic, but also workshops in order to disseminate what we offer, what the local chambers can offer to those women, and training for those who need it. We also offer access to finance without guarantees for women, and among others, we also give information of public grants. We are present in almost 48 local chambers across Spain. As you can see, any women in Spain can access to this program almost. And we also have an online presence via that web that you can see in the slide. due to its financed by the European Social Fund, is a free service that any woman, as I said before, can access to it. As I said before, we offer access to finance with advantageous conditions. As Maria said before, is related to microbank, that is a Spanish bank that has a specific condition for these women that access to local chambers. And this is our online service, as I said before, that is available 24/7 and give continuous support to those women that doesn't have maybe the opportunity to reach a local chamber. Also within this service, we offer monthly newsletters, support and a support network, and in order to share experience between entrepreneurship and business owners, and also training courses. Here we have a specific program within this concrete program that we developed a few years ago that aims to put together business owners and women entrepreneurs in order to share their experience and work in certain areas. Here are some figures that I want to highlight. Since 2001, we have attended more than 190,000 women across Spain. And thanks to the collaboration and the work that local chambers and the people that work there and give support to those women, we have created more than 40,000 companies during this period. This is my short presentation of our program, of the program we developed. But I would like to highlight in a few words that during the pandemic, we have to adapt all of our face-to-face advisory into an online one in order to support all the needs the pandemic have raised among us. This means those local chambers normally attend these women face-to-face, and they have to convert into an online format, attending these women via phone, email, video calls, and give them the necessary tools they need in order to receive that support that in this during this pandemic has been very necessary. We also had to adapt our workshops that we had into an online format, but we have reached and has allowed us to reach a larger target audience. During this period, I want to highlight also that the most questions that have been attended from the local chambers were related to unemployment and financial support. Both questions have been raised during this event today. So it is not only in European level, it's also in a country level, for example, in Spain. Also, the online advisory service, as I said before, has increased its presence over this last year, due to the pandemic. And I want to highlight that these initiatives nowadays are still going on and be there in the near future, because in Spain we have a very complicated situation right now due to the COVID. So local chambers have to adapt all their services and will be still in the near future. I would like to sum up saying that we as the Spanish Chamber of Commerce believe that local chambers have served as a benchmark for those women who have needed support for their businesses during this pandemic, and we believe that that will be in the future. So I don't know if anyone has any question. I don't want to be very rushed, but we don't have so much time. The presentation will be shared before the event, after the event, sorry. So, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Marta, very much. It was very interesting to see how much has you been doing and how you adapted that to the current challenges. So now we are moving to the last speaker from Turkey. So Ms. Iria Uslu from TOBB will speak to us. So yes, we have you. Great. So I wanted to start with asking you about the TOBB Women Entrepreneurs Board. I know this is an important institution in the Turkish Chambers of Commerce. So maybe if you can tell us what it is and how have you been supporting women during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Yeah, hello all. Good afternoon. I'm Huriye Uslu, the Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchange of Turkey, Manisa Women Enterprise Board President. I greet you with respect on behalf of the Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchange of the Turkish Women Entrepreneurs Board and myself. TOBB is Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchange of Turkey. Our information about TOBB. TOBB Women Entrepreneurs Board is well organized in all of the 81 provinces in the Turkey. With it is 700 members, represents the biggest and most widespread women entrepreneurs network in Turkey. Our organization works firstly to improve women entrepreneurship and ecosystems in our country. At the same time, we support women entrepreneurs in the fields of education, mentoring, and capacity development. Since its foundation, the number of women entrepreneurs in our country is doubled. We also made a very important woman leader among our members. Our Deputy President, Mrs. Ruhsar Pekcan, is now our Minister of Trade. Institutional experience, what we have done as a TOBB Women Entrepreneurship in combating of crisis of COVID-19, what have we learned? We are passing through an extraordinary period. We need each other more than ever in the world and in our countries. From the very first moment that the virus appeared in our country, TOBB collected our demands and complaints and get it in touch with relevant ministries to solve them. In the COVID-19 period, unfortunately, we couldn't give enough weight to our regular promotion activities. Priority at all levels is given to protecting our entrepreneurs and employment. During this period, information webinars for entrepreneurs have been organized to ensure that women and young entrepreneurs take careful and right steps under the pandemic conditions. However, we were able to continue to conduct regular meetings online in the same way. I want to emphasize that we have the possibility to get even faster action thanks to online meetings. We opened our eyes to a new life implementing home office whenever it is possible. We avoided lost time, reduced travel cost, and probably this was the only bright side of the pandemic. Like the rest of the world, we also experienced a stress in general and constrictions in economy. The most negatively affected is our sector is the service industry. Demand for hygiene products increased. A new concept of social distance entered into the lives of people. It changed their expectations from social and business life. Let me give you a few examples about the directions of change. One of them, new business models emerged. The rate of packaging usage in its products has increased. The health system, in addition to many other sectors, has become more digitalized. The habits of consumers have changed. A new group has formed to meet their needs from digital environments and wait to be delivered to their home. With these developments in the digital field, the technology feeding this field have a rapid development. I can show the payment systems as an example. We go faster to the cash-free society with pandemic. We don't know yet when the COVID-19 crisis, which has affected the whole world, will end. But it is sure that we will rearrange our lives according to pandemic conditions in every field. We are down now, but we will start again, and we will even be stronger than before. Now we need to be prepared for upcoming period. We already started our work to inform our members about the new economic order that will appear after the pandemic.
Okay, thank you very much. It was it's good. It's great to hear that you're doing work for the Turkish female entrepreneurs in the times. However, I also wanted to ask you if you could shortly tell us about your work-life balance. How have you been managing this during the pandemic?
Yes, I'm chairman of board a factory. We are producing panel radiators, and we are exporting to Europe and other countries. My personal experience in tackling on the COVID-19 pandemic. In last time, while I was a professional manager of the foreign capital, Germany, HM Radiator company, I became a partner of the company at the end of 6 years. In the same time, functioned the purchasing director of the company's organizations in another countries. I decided to focus on developments in Turkey when I don't allow to go to business trips due to COVID. We have provided our staff with training on how to apply the maximum level hygiene rules and show the same care in their private lives. In the beginning, we tried to protect our employees in their private lives by supplying masks, which were difficult to procure individually for our employees as well as their families. We increased the number of the shuttle buses that are used to and from work and maintaining their social distance. We provided a separate packet lunch for minimum touch. And we relay out our machine park by increasing the distance between the workstations to keep their social distance at a safe level. With bringing us additional cost, the rate of the numbers of cases did not exceed 10% of the employees, and we are able to continue our mass production. In this process, we didn't use any personal support provided by our state, and we increased the number of employees with our new investment, some of which realized with the credit provided by our state. We have managed to keep warm our relationships with our customers by developing a new body language technicals through online connections. And we try to support our suppliers by shortening the payment dates who are affected by this pandemic to avoid any delays on our supply chain. And in our social life, we also wanted to increase our support on the sectors who are close due to pandemic, such as restaurants, cafe, by ordering food from our friends who had to shut their place. And the other hand, being a mother who was spending half of the month on business trip, the change of having fun with her son, I think this was the most positive side of this negative event.
Great.
Okay,
Great.
with these feelings, all those, I wish you have a healthy days in your new life. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for this personal story as well. It's for sure challenging, but also interesting to hear of lots of work that you try to do privately, but also as an entrepreneur for your employees. Thank you very much. So this was our last intervention today. So would like to thank all of the previous speakers from both sessions. We've learned about different ways to support female entrepreneurship by European organizations, by projects, by financing, but also by companies themselves or by chambers themselves. So I think it was very inspirational morning. Since we are slightly after time, wouldn't like to keep you here for too long. I talked with Julia. We'll collect questions that were asked in the Q&A. Some of them were already asked by our panelists, so thank you very much for that. But we will address them in a follow-up email to all participants that will also include our presentations that were showed today. So to conclude our busy day and inspirational day before 8th of March, International Day of Women, so it's a great timing for that. I will ask our CEO, Ben Butters, to address us with the final conclusions of the day as the first and last, as the first male speaker today and the very last speaker today. So Ben, please feel free to share your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thanks to everybody. It's been a really fascinating discussion, and I'm really very grateful to everybody for their contributions. And I'm speaking principally about our speakers today. Thank you for your contribution and for staying with us in many cases. I know that Marta Schulz had to leave for another appointment, but thank you to the other speakers, including Angelika Winzig, who we work with very closely in her role as co-chair of the European Parliament's SME Intergroup. Thank you, Angelika, for staying with us and for contributing so valuably to the event, and that goes to all of the other speakers as well. It's been a really interesting discussion. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to close the meeting along with Adam. It's to be the only other male participant in the event as a speaker is very much appreciated, and it's an honor to do so. A couple more thank yous before I continue. I'm really grateful to the whole Chamber Network for their support in preparing the survey. We got a fantastic response, and that's down to the efforts of our colleagues in the national chambers and the Chamber Network who have helped us to disseminate the survey. My particular thanks go to my colleague Giulia Rocchi for coordinating the whole initiative, and she did so particularly with the support of Chiara Gaffuri from Unionchambre and Karin Jesenig-Putz from the Austrian Chamber, but there were many other colleagues out there who helped to prepare and disseminate the survey. So very grateful to all of you for your help. And I think we can all be very proud of the results and the valuable information and data that we have gathered through this exercise. I don't want to take up too much time, and I don't really think it's useful to summarize what has been a quite diverse discussion, but a couple of messages that I think are worth reiterating. Firstly, one of the points I picked up earlier in the discussion is that women, of course, should be able to fulfill their potential, whether that is in politics, the public sector, the private sector, or of course, as we're talking about today, as an entrepreneur. It's very clear that in many ways that is not the case, that women are not as able to fulfill their potential as men are. And that seems to have become even more acute during the crisis for women entrepreneurs. So I think that's a really important wake-up call, that the efforts that have been made to ensure gender equality in many fields of life, and Piret demonstrated in politics in Estonia that great progress has been made, and in several other countries as well. But still, in the world of business, there are a lot of obstacles which women encounter, and those have been exacerbated by the crisis. It's been difficult for all entrepreneurs, of course, but I think that the problems that women encounter in entrepreneurship have been amplified, magnified because of the challenges of the economic crisis. So we as chambers need to be aware of that, and we have heard of some examples from Fanny Rouen and others about how the chamber network is really helping women entrepreneurs during the crisis. But policymakers need to be aware of that as well. So that is a message that we will be conveying at European level for sure, and undoubtedly chambers will be doing the same at national and regional level. The second point I picked up is a positive one. I think that the crisis has really demonstrated that women are resilient, that they are transformative in terms of the economy, and that they haven't allowed the crisis to dampen that spirit of entrepreneurship and that desire to make a difference. It's very clear from the findings that women have learned from the challenges that they have encountered over the last 12 months, that they are adapting their business models, that they are transforming their business strategy. And I think that is a really positive message for the future and something that we can build on, and in fact we need to build on if the crisis is to be resolved, and if the recovery is to gain traction and momentum. We can't do that without harnessing the potential of women entrepreneurs. So let me thank again all of our colleagues from the European institutions, from the Chamber Network, and the entrepreneurs who have taken part in this exercise. I hope you've enjoyed the event. We'll be following up on it over the coming days and sharing the full report probably on Monday in connection with International Women's Day. And again, thank you to everybody who has taken part and contributed to this.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Great. Thank you. So we wish everybody a great day, and thank you for staying with us.